Well, the White House was forced to hold an emergency meeting reportedly after a bombshell story hit Washington this morning. Apparently, the CIA is pissed about it. The New York Times found out that U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee held a meeting with Jonathan Pollard. He's a man from Texas who was convicted and imprisoned for decades for spying for Israel. He gave them nuclear weapon information. You guys. Now, Pollard himself confirmed it to the New York Times, but the ambassador's office has not said very much about it because obviously this is infuriating. A quick backstory on this traitor. He was born in Texas, but raised by Zionist Jewish parents. Pollard is one of the most damaging traitors in American intelligence history and the only American ever sentenced to life in prison for spying for an ally. In the mid-'80s, while working as a Navy intelligence analyst, he stole tens of thousands of classified documents that reportedly could fit in a room 6 by 6. So much so that Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger said exactly that. Actually, 6 by 10 was the measurement of the room that all of the documents could fit into. He was caught in 1985, convicted, and served 30 years in federal prison, the harshest sentence ever given to an American who spied for a friendly nation, so we say. He never expressed remorse, never. He still says that he is openly loyal to the land of Israel and the people of Israel, and he embraces an Israel first doctrine. When he was paroled in 2015, he was not allowed to leave the United States. But at the end of President Trump's first term, it was the Justice Department under Trump, as a favor to Netanyahu, that lifted his travel restrictions. And the minute that happened, he moved to Israel. He was greeted there by Netanyahu himself like a national hero. The reason they're fist bumping instead of hugging is because this is December 2020 during peak COVID. That's why the people are wearing masks. This is him kissing the ground. This person, again, betrayed America. What purpose could it serve for an ambassador, Ambassador Huckabee, to schedule this meeting? It was not even put on his schedule. So he was trying to hide it. Now, here is Pollard recently talking openly about how Israel should threaten America with these nuclear weapons.
Admit this. We are now feeding our enemy. I mean, this has never happened in history before, and you have to ask why. And I don't want to hear this business that it's consistent with Jewish morality. It isn't. Anybody saying that doesn't know anything about Jewish morality at all. Oh, let me bring you back to October 1973, during the Yom Kippur War, when Henry Kissinger instituted an arms embargo against us. And what happened?
Okay, you can watch this later. Who is us? He is not saying us. He means Israelis. He later on says that we openly need to threaten the Americans with this nuclear weapon that we have. Joining us to discuss is CIA whistleblower John Kiriakou, who can explain more about exactly how dangerous this has always been for Americans. Thank you for joining us. What is your gut reaction to this?
Thank you for having me. When I woke up this morning and saw this news, I was absolutely outraged, and I was so happy to receive your request to talk about this. You know, let's lay out the facts about Jonathan Pollard first. Jonathan Pollard, as you noted, was arrested in 1985 and charged with spying for Israel. He did not do it for ideology, which is what he wants us to all believe. He did it for money. They paid him cash, just like the Soviets used to do with their spies, or the Chinese. He did it for cash. And he gave the Israeli government tens of thousands of pages of documents classified at the top secret level, not just run-of-the-mill secret CIA documents or confidential State Department documents, top secret military intelligence and NSA documents that the Soviets then gave, that the Israelis gave to the Soviet Union in exchange for the Soviets then releasing Russian Jews to emigrate to Israel. So it's not just that he spied for Israel and Israel learned our secrets. Israel took those secrets and traded the secrets to the Soviet Union, our greatest enemy on the planet at the time. He's lucky that he wasn't executed for what he did, because God knows Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were executed probably for less, at least in the case of Ethel Rosenberg. So for our ambassador, the American ambassador, to, number one, meet with Jonathan Pollard, number two, to meet with him off the books, which is another thing that we learned in this revelation today, and to, number three, not get the permission of the White House or the Office of the Secretary of State is unforgivable. And Ambassador Huckabee should resign or should be fired for doing this.
I can't even believe that they would be vacillating on this. According to reports today, from what we're hearing, there was an emergency meeting at the White House to deal with this, I'm sure. But you've got Susie Wiles, as sort of the gatekeeper in the White House, right? She's been a destructive force in the Trump administration and really protecting, I think, a lot of these types of people. So what do you expect to happen? I mean, yes, he should absolutely be fired, or he should resign immediately. And what should the president do? Should the president immediately accept his resignation?
If I were the president, yes, I would. I have worked in American embassies around the world for half of my adult life, and I know how business is conducted, especially business by American ambassadors. If you're going to meet with anybody that's even a little bit controversial, you have to get the permission of the Secretary of State first. You have to cable the Secretary of State and say, Mr. Secretary, I'm thinking of having a meeting with Jonathan Pollard. Here's what I intend to say. We're not going to inform the media, or we are going to inform the media. If the request is that sensitive, it will be referred to the National Security Council, specifically to the National Security Advisor, who's supposed to be the adult in the room. In this case, Secretary Rubio is both Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. But then the White House weighs in and would say, absolutely not. It doesn't promote or advance American foreign policy in any way, and it doesn't help the President of the United States in any way. Another thing that we learned today is that this meeting didn't take place yesterday. This meeting took place in July. And it was never on Ambassador Huckabee's calendar, so it was never leaked to the press. Finally, someone who knew about it leaked it. And what we learned from the New York Times and the Washington Post this morning was that the CIA station chief in Jerusalem was apoplectic that this happened. And there were at least 3 whistleblowers inside the embassy that so objected to it that they finally went to the media and said that Ambassador Huckabee had done this.
Oh, it was Americans. Who, obviously, I guess, yeah, it makes sense, but we just didn't know. Sorry.
Right.
You guys already know about the bearskin hoodie, though, right? If you've been waiting to get yourself one, now is the time. I wear it every morning as I'm walking the dog. Right now, they got a big Black Friday, Cyber Monday plan coming up, so I just want you guys to pay attention to this. It's officially hoodie season right now. Cold mornings, windy days, surprise snow, and right now, Bearskin is running their biggest deal of the year. We're talking 60% off for this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Now, this isn't some old fleece. This thing is built with 340 GSM bearskin fleece, 10 pockets, rugged, athletic. It actually looks really good on you. Plus, if it starts pouring, you can just zip on that heavy rainstorm jacket and instantly level up to full waterproof protection. You'll get free U.S. shipping from their U.S. warehouse and gear that'll last you season after season. So here's what you need to do to get that 60% off. Just text the word redacted to 36912. Again, that's redacted to 36912, and they'll text you a link so you can lock in your 60% off before this sale disappears. Don't wait till the weather gets really bad. Grab a Bearskin right now. And one more thing, when you support Bearskin, you're also supporting the Fallen Outdoors and the Hope for the Warriors Veterans Program. So you're not just buying great gear, you're backing a cause that actually matters. So grab your Bearskin while that Black Friday deal is still live. Text redacted to 36912. I was going to follow up with you what you said about the Rosenbergs, and I don't see any daylight at all between what he did and what the Rosenbergs did, transmitting classified nuclear secrets. I mean, to the Soviets, you're transferring classified nuclear secrets to Israel in an effort to say that we should be using and thinking about using nuclear weapons on the United States, or have it's unbelievable. I don't see any difference. And they were executed, as you pointed out, in 1953. They were killed for their treason. And Huckabee's just meeting with them off the books?
You know, the CIA, since immediately after the 9/11 attacks, has had this thing called the Tuesday Morning Kill List meeting. It was instituted by John Brennan, and he would meet at the White House every Tuesday morning with representatives from the CIA, from the Justice Department, and from the National Security Council, and they would come up with a list of people to be killed that week because they posed what is called a clear and present danger to the United States. Okay, and then the team fans out around the world, kills those people, and there's a meeting again the next Tuesday. When you have an American traitor like Jonathan Pollard, who has aided and abetted the enemy, in this case, the Soviet Union, or even Israel, really, in this case, and then advocates the use of nuclear weapons against the United States, to me, that is a clear and present danger to the United States, to American citizens, and to American installations. And then to have our ambassador meet with this person,
right?
It's unfathomable.
I believe he still is. He hasn't renounced his American citizenship, right? Because you need to go to an embassy to do this.
That's right.
So he is clearly still acting as a traitor to the United States. It's not a past event.
No, it's not a past event. And listen, just to make it even crazier, Jonathan Pollard is currently running for the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, as an independent from the far right wing of, I mean, he's even too right wing for the extreme right wing Zionist parties. So he's just running as an independent. But he's seeking elected office in a foreign country.
Are the American Zionists, the pro-Israel crowd, like the Mark Levins of the world, the Laura Loomers, all of these people, have they been denouncing this? Or have you seen? I haven't seen any condemnation.
Not that I've seen.
I haven't seen it.
No, not on their part. I've seen, the likes of Tucker Carlson denouncing and Candace Owens denouncing, and Twitter or X was very busy today. But no, the Mark Levins of the world, no, I haven't seen a word from them.
Can I just ask you about Ambassador Huckabee? Like, what would, in your vast CIA history and intelligence gathering history, what would be the purpose of him meeting with Pollard?
I believe that Ambassador Huckabee is such an extreme evangelical Christian Zionist that his personal faith trumps his job as a diplomat. I honestly, I'm going to say it straight out. I don't think the man can control himself.
Yeah.
I don't think that his judgment is clear. I don't think that he's equipped or qualified for this job. And I think that he's put us in a position now as a nation where he's endangering us. At the very least, he's endangering American foreign policy. And I believe very strongly he should be removed.
Now, I want to raise an uncomfortable discussion about Jewish people because I think that this is ultimately quite bad for them. Something Norm Finkelstein, a Jewish scholar, son of Holocaust survivors. Do we have a screen? I brought this to ask this question in a diplomatic way. Something he said in his book, The Holocaust Industry, was that from early on, American Jewish elites harbored profound misgivings about a Jewish state. Uppermost was their fear that it would lend credence to the dual loyalty charge. Now, Israel is the only country in the world that claims a worldwide population as its own, whether they want it or not. And this creates a problem for Jewish Americans because they have a foreign government claiming their loyalty. As an Italian descendant, I don't have that conflict with the government of Italy. So Pollard acted on an ideology that most Jews reject, and yet Israel celebrates him. This puts innocent people under fire because it means that Jews now further face this suspicion based on the ideology of a foreign government. So how do you see this for fellow Jews? I don't know if you're Jewish or not, but...
No, I'm not Jewish. I happen to be Greek Orthodox, which has quite a significant presence in Israel. You raise a very important point here, and this is a point that Norm Finkelstein has really expertly conveyed. And this is the reason why so many Orthodox Jews, especially those very religious Orthodox Jews in New York, reject Israel as a state, because the Torah is very clear that there cannot be a state of Israel until the Messiah comes. Now, this is where Ambassador Huckabee plays a role again. He is of that extreme evangelical belief that Christian Zionists can encourage America's Jews to move to Israel because the Bible says that Jesus will come back when all the Jews have returned to Israel. And they believe that as human beings, they can hasten the hand of God by pushing all the Jews in the world, or at least all the Jews in the United States, to Israel. It's laughable to those of us who are not evangelical extremists, but it's dangerous in the world of foreign policy, because then we get people like Jonathan Pollard with, well, what we thought were dual loyalties. Actually, yeah. they weren't dual. He was very, very singular in his loyalties.
Right. Can I just ask you one more question, John, which is about the U.S. Embassy in Israel, and what that would look like from a security perspective, welcoming him into U.S. sovereign territory. And that's what that is at the end of the day.
Someone who wants Americans
sure
bombed.
Is.
That's a good question.
You know, he's literally inside of U.S. sovereign territory in a foreign country. That's what embassies are, right, at the end of the day. And he's a traitor to the United States, and he's there. I mean, shouldn't he have been arrested when he walked in? I mean, what sort of security would happen?
You know, that was my first thought, that if I were Pollard, I would have been afraid to enter the American embassy, because I would have been afraid to be arrested. With all that he said, advocating using nuclear weapons against the United States, I would consider him to be a threat, and I would have arrested him. When I've worked in embassies around the world, whenever there was a VIP visitor for a meeting, everybody in the building knows it. Everybody. And it turns out that Ambassador Huckabee and the deputy chief of mission approved of this visit and met with him without telling the CIA, and as I said, without cabling the State Department and telling the Secretary of State, we're going to do this really, really controversial thing, and we just want you to know beforehand that this is what we're doing. I would ask Ambassador Huckabee, what possible good for American foreign policy did you think this was going to accomplish? What possible good for Donald Trump as president of the United States did you think this would accomplish? That's why I've been thinking about this all day. And my only response remains that Ambassador Huckabee should resign. And if he doesn't resign, he should be fired.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Resign now, Ambassador Huckabee, or be fired.
And again, I want to point out how bad this is for Jewish Americans, because this renews a story that most generations did not know. And now we're all like, what the hell, right? And so they're better off not knowing that these kind of people exist. It's crazy.
And may I add something too? In all the years that Jonathan Pollard was in prison, he was in maximum security prisons. The last one was in Butner, North Carolina. Every single time that an Israeli prime minister visited the United States, they would ask for Jonathan Pollard's release. And every single time they were told, no, he won't be released. Bill Clinton toyed with the idea briefly of releasing him in the late 1990s, and George Tenet and all of the heads of the intelligence agencies in the U.S. government said that they would resign if he were to be released. And then the idea went away. So he did his full 30 years, but then all of a sudden gets VIP treatment at the American Embassy in Jerusalem.
Gosh.
Unbelievable. This is unbelievable. This is not a story that President Trump needs right over his head right now, for sure. John Kiriakou, always great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Former CIA whistleblower, well, still a CIA whistleblower, actually. And always great to see you, John.
The right person to talk to today. I'm so glad you were available. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the invitation.